So this is what we're making, a twisted wire ring using 2mm round wire. Now we're going to twist the wire, which will shorten it by 1/2, and then we're going to either planish it or run it through a rolling mill to get the length back out. So I think we'll need around 250mm, but I'm going to use 300 just to make sure. That's 12 inches or a foot in the old money. And then we're just going to bring the ends together, and that will bend the wire right in the middle. And then I'm going to hammer that with my rawhide hammer, just to bring it together, so when I clamp it to twist it, I'll only lose a couple of millimeters on the end. So I'm just going to clamp a couple of millimeters, and then I'm going to use my vice grips to do the same thing. Now I'm right-handed, so I'm going to do a right-handed twist on this. Make sure that you get both of the wires nicely clamped, and once again only damage a couple of millimeters on the end, so you don't lose a long section of wire. Now I'm just going to twist this until I have a nice, fairly tight pattern. That's good. Now for a change, I'm just going to planish. Instead of passing it through the rolling mill, I'm going to planish it for a different look. And then we'll cut a section of wire out and make a ring out of it. I lied. I'm going to pass it through the largest half-round roller on my mill. Just lightly, because if you make it too tight, what'll happen is you'll cut the wire where it crosses. And I was holding the end to keep the wire from twisting. Now that's a pattern I like. Just lightly burnished by the mill, lightly pressed by the mill. Now I'm going to solder this in a few spots, and I'm only going to need about half the wire, so that's good. I'll make 2 rings out of this. So I'm going to solder it at the end and then once in the middle, and it's just so that it doesn't unravel when I start to bend it into a ring. So there, and there. Hard solder, 3mm long pieces placed with a flux brush. neutral flame. Although, if all you have is a LPG air, it'll work quite well for this. So dry out the flux and then heat the metal until the solder flows. There. And then the next one. It's a fairly big piece of metal, so it'll take a bit of heating. And then the last one. Lovely. And we'll quench it in water. And we don't have to pickle it at this point. Now we'll dry this. So my material at this point is 3 millimeters high. So inside diameter of your ring plus 3 times 3.14 will give you the length. Now I'm going to make a P, and it will end up being 66 millimeters long. Now I'm cutting it where the wire crosses. And it doesn't quite cross on the other end. So I'll shift it so that it cuts where it's the two ends are free, and then I'll do the same thing on the other end. Hopefully they'll match. The old broken saw blade trick. And file the ends flat. It shouldn't take much. And we'll just make sure they're soldered together, which they are. And now we'll use our flat half-round pliers. Doesn't really matter which is the inside, they're both the same. So we'll just bend this into a nice oval and then line the ends of the wire up. Now they don't quite line up, but because it's twisted wire, we can just twist it a little bit until they do. All right, I'm happy with that. So now we'll put a little piece of solder on each wire, solder it, and then pickle it, then round it up. So I'm holding the ring in my third hand. It's been fluxed, and I've placed the solder on the join. So we'll dry out the flux. Push the solder where it's supposed to go using our solder pick. Brushing side to side so we end with both ends the same temperature. Lovely. I'm happy with that. And we'll quench in water and pickle. All right, I'm out of the pickle. I'm just going to round this up on my ring mandrel using the rawhide hammer. And I'm not real happy with my solder join, so I'm going to saw through that and re-solder it. But at this point, that's what it looks like. Just twisted wire. So I tidied up my join, and I like that a lot better. So back on the ring mandrel, and if it's slightly small, so it's one size small, we can hammer it up, and I just use my jeweler's hammer. Lovely. Now we can tidy up the join with our sanding stick. 400 grade sandpaper, 400 wet or dry. And if we did a good job on the join, it won't take much. So it only took that much to tidy up the first one. There's a little bit of sanding on the edge to do. And a little bit on the inside. And I'll use my split mandrel on a handpiece to do that, and then we'll polish it. Okay, in the tumbler. All right, we're out of the pickle. I'm happy with that. Now we'll go in the tumbler. So here we are out of the tumbler, all finished.